This is our owl. Isn't he cute? Try and do some repair work. Hello and welcome from Fralins and Friends. Hello everybody, this is Glenda with Fralins and Friends Crafts Plus. But tonight we're going to discuss a little something about my COPD. Okay. You can probably hear the machine behind me. That is a concentrator. It takes the air from the room and extracts the oxygen, and the oxygen comes up through this tubing. And I wear this all day long. And it comes from the same machine, but I unplug the cannula part, plug it into my CPAP, which is the mask I wear for sleeping at night. And when I travel, we use this. Tonight I'm going to talk about my current situation and my history with my COPD. And the reason I'm going to do that, I haven't done that for a while, and I've noticed that when I go to looking at my most watched videos, it's the one about COPD. When I was 15, I started smoking on a dare. That was back in the early 70s. And all of my friends and people around me smoked, except my parents. My parents, my family, they never smoked. Didn't drink, didn't smoke. And I was going to be that good girl who didn't drink, didn't smoke. But famous last words. And I worked as a nurse. I worked as an LPN, licensed practical nurse, for many years. Prior to that, I worked as a CNA. They call it a CNA. It was a nurse's aide then, so same thing. Just didn't have to be certified. You were trained wherever you worked. I was a big stress smoker. And in the mid-90s, I had been working in a Christian group, and there was something happened that triggered some very bad things from my younger days, and I just started mentally progressing back through them as if they were happening again. And come to find out, I'm bipolar. This trigger that made it manifest when I was about 40 just kind of short-circuited everything. I think what got me through all those years was my upbringing and my training as a nurse. As a nurse, you're trained not to show your emotions. You're trained not to get emotionally involved. So I had buried emotions for a long time. So when this all started happening and I felt so out of control, it was like, no, this can't be. I am not going to be out of control, because it's not me. I have to be in control of myself. I'm a nurse. I got to take care of people. I need to get back to being a nurse, because I took off a year, I thought, and worked in transcription, because I thought, okay, I just need to get myself in control and get back to where my brain is functioning right, and I will go back to work as a nurse. It didn't happen that way. I was diagnosed as bipolar. But I had been smoking up a storm, and more stressed, and the more free time I had, I went back to school, got a business degree, and so I did finish a business degree. And that's about the time. It was right as I was finishing up my degree in business that they discovered the growth. I was hoping to build a business from home. I was hoping to, build I do write. I've got books out. But I wanted to build a business from home or something. And I had worked with the Red Cross. I'd volunteered there and for a little while at YMCA, but that was only about one day a week. So I figured out, well, I can handle some office stuff. But then I got hit with this whole, they thought I had cancer. And because I had a growth in my right lung, and it was large. It was kind of, it wasn't real fat, I don't think, but it was long. And so I was going to a pulmonologist, or I went to a pulmonologist, and he saw that and he thought, lung cancer. Girl, you've got lung cancer. And they did also diagnose me with COPD. Oh, they wouldn't do a PET scan. The insurance wouldn't pay for the PET scan unless they did the biopsies first. Well, they did one biopsy and it came back benign. And that was where they just went endoscope. They went down through the esophagus and went through the lining and took a little snip of and it came back benign. My pulmonologist didn't believe that that was the end of it. He said, we've got to get more center mass. So then they did a thoracotomy. They went through here. They went through my trachea and down in that way. They went through my neck, went through my trachea, down in that way, and grabbed a piece of it. And it still came back benign. And my pulmonologist, he was like, he's nervous. And of course I was too. And he was like, no, we're going to make sure this is benign. He said, I hope it is, but he said, we're going to make sure. Because they had told me it could possibly be from an infection, but at the size that it was, because it was very large, they didn't think so. A radiograph with contrast dye that they put in there, and then it was guided by radiation, by x-ray. And when he compared the one he took to do the thing, to do the biopsy, to the one I'd had prior to that, I'm losing my battery. He found out that it had lost about, it was about half a centimeter, or about a centimeter to more smaller. He says, I'm sorry, I can't take this out, or I can't do this biopsy because you don't have lung cancer. This is getting smaller. Okay, so we're at the point where we know now that I do not have lung cancer, but I have quit smoking. This was in 2005. I quit smoking. It was not an easy thing to do for someone like me, but I did manage it. So by that time in 2005, I had quit smoking. That was a plus. Didn't mean the fact it remains, though, I'm still on all this medication for my bipolar, and now I'm on more medication. And because I'm using inhalers and using I've got my new nebulizer over here, the mister thing that you'd breathe through. I had my emergency inhaler, and just everything changed again. I mean, I ended up, they had me on steroids for a while. Well, I'm still on them, but just a maintenance dose. In 2012, I got a really bad case of pneumonia. Now, I had bronchitis. One of the problems with my COPD, because it is a combination of pulmonary diseases, those aren't going to go away. But things have got better. And it's because after 2012, that was the worst I'd ever had, because I had a really bad case of pneumonia, and I had an ileus, which is a blockage in the bowel. So I was bloated out to here. My lungs didn't work very good, and then they didn't have much room either. The first night or two, I don't think they thought I would live, but I did. And it was in the hospital for a month. So from then on, if I even had any signs of bronchitis, then they started me on antibiotics. I had a short hospitalization in 2015 because of another less severe and no ileus pneumonia. And my pulmonologist put me on a medication called Dalaresp to slow down the production of mucus in my lungs, because mucus is a prime place for bacteria to grow. And also, for my bronchitis, because that's mainly what it would help to stop the exacerbation of the bronchitis, or keep it from becoming a probable thing that I would get. So then the insurance, I was on it for a little while, and the insurance up and says, well, you're not getting bronchitis anymore, you don't need this. And it's like, what is wrong with you people? The whole idea is to keep me from getting bronchitis. So the doctor had to fight with them for a while. Finally, they developed some understanding. So I am still on that to this day. I was finally able to get back on it. I have not had bronchitis now for quite some time. Generally, when I would have the bronchitis, that's when it would go into pneumonia, and I haven't had that either. So my ability to move around has steadily reduced. I mean, I can get around the house. I have to have the oxygen on and have it at a certain level. I can walk like to the car and back to the house outside. I don't walk very far. I used to walk. I'd carry my oxygen and walk from the house to the store downtown, and I would drive to the store. But it got to the point where even driving to the store, I would get there by the time I got back to my van and had the groceries in there, and the store here they would take my groceries out for me. Just climbing into the van, I'd have to sit there for a good 5 minutes or better just to get my oxygen level back up so I could drive home. So I haven't driven now for several years. So I do depend on Joe for transportation. And I can, if I need stuff, a lot of times I will order stuff from Amazon or Walmart or whatever. But I depend on him for, he gets our groceries, he does our laundry's in the basement, and those stairs just aren't good for me to go up and down. They're just not, they're kind of steep, and I'm not very good. I mean, if it's a tornado warning, yeah, I do go down and I come back up, but very careful about, being safe with doing it. He had to put an extra handrail in so that it was safer. So tomorrow, enough. I do try to do what I can, and most of that is to do with crafts. So I do try not only to entertain you, it's to entertain me. The crafts plus. The plus, okay, this is a bit of a plus because I'm doing this. The trip that we took out through the country and got all that wonderful video, that was a plus, and I so enjoyed it. It got me out of the house. I felt refreshed. Now we're having high wind warnings, and we're not traveling anywhere. So what I've been doing though, I made a whole bunch of these beanies. Now they still have the loose yarn. I haven't got all that tucked in yet. But I had made a whole bunch of beanies for Christmas for my kids. I had a bunch of yarn left over. So my kids and grandkids, I got a bunch. So I made these, and these are going to go to the church for foster kids once I get all the yarn tucked in. I'm going to do the birds. I've got the one where I did the blue jay, or the cardinal, the red bird. And instead of cutting and pasting everything, I'm not on a computer, this is just on Sketch. I am going to go ahead and redo the robin on the same page as the red bird, as the cardinal. I've got a request for a bluebird, and I also want to do a blue jay. I would like to do a sparrow, but I don't know about doing it on a page with birds with that many colors. So I may do an oriole or a meadowlark instead. And then, what I hope to do after that, if you guys stuck around with me this long, is I want to make sculptures of each one of those to put with the picture. This was not an easy thing for me to get through, and I'm surprised because it isn't like I haven't talked about it before. I just haven't for a while. And, well, I think part of it is because when I talk about it, I think about it, and then this more helpless feeling comes over me because I'm talking about all the stuff I can't do anymore. But what I can do, and that's where I try to concentrate, what I can do. And so that's where I do the crafts. So we'll see you tomorrow. I'm sorry I've been kind of, I don't know why this has been kind of stressful for me. It shouldn't have been, but it's made me nervous. I will see you tomorrow, and we'll get started on the rest of those birds. And I love you. Take care. Smile and wave.